morning. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jeanette Taylor. I'm a local school council president at Jackie Robinson School, and I'm the vice chair at Mollison Elementary. As a publicly elected official of the local school council for 19 years, who has devoted my time and energy to not only my children, but the children of the city of Chicago, it is a slap in the face to me and my children to balance the budget on the backs of low-income and working families, to balance your budget. The per-pupil formula is nothing more than the sabotage of public education.
Right.
Slashing our budgets so that we can lose veteran teachers and increase class sizes is not acceptable. We want a forensic audit of the Chicago Public Schools budget. We want to know what Chicago Public Schools has done with our money.
Yes.
We want Attorney Lisa Madigan to lead the investigation. It is Ms. Madigan's duty, it's her duty, to hold CPS accountable. It is clear that we the people have been lied to and that CPS practices are clearly on the path to privatization while starving neighborhood schools. We're calling on Governor Pat Quinn as Chief Executive Officer for the state of Illinois to call an executive order for a moratorium on school closing and an executive order to call for an elected representative school board.
Right.
We call the Illinois legislators, the Black Caucus and the Latino Caucus, to exercise their power and pass House Bill 2793 for elected representative school board, to block CPS from its efforts in implementing this per-pupil budget and closing schools. We're here this morning just to say that the per-pupil funding is unfair to our children. Not only are you closing 50 schools, you made us think that that was going to balance the budget, you're also going to fire veteran teachers. So you're going to kill public education.
Right.
Next, we're going to have Professor Persky from UIC. He's going to talk about the budget for us.
Jeanette, can you spell your name first?
It's JeAnneTTETAYLOR.
I'm Joe Persky. I teach economics at UIC, and I'm glad to be here this morning with all these people. Look around here. This is our city. It's a rich city. There are billions of dollars for real estate development. There are billions of dollars for pharmaceutical companies. There are billions of dollars for banks right here and mercantile exchanges. Yet, surrounded by this striking wealth, the very base of our public life is under attack. Education, we are told, is a luxury we can no longer afford. We are told this even though we are rich. How rich are we? Chicago sits at the heart of a wealthy region. In the Chicago metropolitan area, the per person GDP every year is $60,000. You have a family of 4. That means almost $250,000 for your family. That's $60,000 of value added, of production, of goods that we've created for every man, woman, and child in the metropolitan area. And where is that wealth concentrated? It's concentrated right here at the center of the city, where the wealth is owned and controlled here in these towers around us. Yet we are told the resources are not enough, that they're not enough to educate the next generation. These resources cannot be found or won't be found. This is the most important task of any society. Education is not a luxury, it's the most central of necessities. It's not just the passing on of our accumulated knowledge, it is the kindling of a flame, the lighting of the fire that will open the future for our children and their children. And yet we are told we lack the resources, that the resources just don't exist. In the midst of all this wealth, our mayor and the rich businessmen he serves should be ashamed of their inability. No, their unwillingness to mobilize that wealth for our schools and our children. They are poor stewards of our community's richness. Look around, look at this rich city. Can we find the funds that our schools need? It's not impossible. Here are three concrete, real starting points for expanding our school resources. And these are just for openers. One, TIFs, tax increment financing. You know what these are? That's where city developers regularly loot the property taxes originally meant for education and put them to their own private uses. It works through a shadow government with little oversight. As originally proposed, the program was meant for distressed and blighted neighborhoods, but here in Chicago, it has gone to bankroll downtown investment. Currently, over 30% of the city is covered by TIF districts. Every year, TIF districts take about $500 million in property taxes. Of that sum, about $250 million a year was originally intended for public schools. It's hard to understand why subsidizing real estate development in highly prized locations is more important than financing our schools. Over 60% of TIF projects have been funneled into the loop right around here or adjoining areas, prosperous areas. Even on those occasions when TIF monies are used for school construction, those funds have focused on high-income areas and magnet schools. It's time to reclaim TIF funds for the school district. They were originally meant to serve. Two, swaps. Oh, swaps. This is from the crash, right? It's truly amazing the contortions to which the finance community has gone with the purpose of drawing profits out of our school budgets. It wasn't just poor households that got pulled into financial debacle in the last decade. The Chicago public schools have gotten themselves caught in swap deals that have gone south. They were meant to provide insurance for CPS. Instead, they have provided windfall profits for the banks and finance companies that lured CPS into these deals. CPS's partners are making millions, while CPS is paying pre-crisis interest rates. It's not just the slogan. The banks got bailed out, we got sold out.
All right. We got sold out.
CPS should immediately move to renegotiate its deals. Communities like Oakland in California are looking to use their bargaining power to free themselves from onerous termination fees. Such agreements could generate roughly $40 million annually for CPS. It is time for major financial institutions like Bank of America, which have received billions in assistance to cover bad deals of their own making, to acknowledge their debts to the community in which they do business. Third, last one, fair taxation. The richest 1% of the country's families are receiving over 90% of the country's income growth. They are doing well. They are doing very well. It is time for them to recognize their responsibility to their communities. A progressive city commuter income tax on everyone who works in the city, rising from 0.5% to 1.5% over the income ladder, can add $1 billion to the city's coffers every year. This could balance school budgets overnight. Alternatively, a modest tax on financial transactions here in Chicago could generate even more funds. 25-cent, some quarters here, a 25-cent speculation fee to be paid by both buyers and sellers of derivative contracts at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Chicago Board of Options Exchange could generate about $1.4 billion per year, just with a quarter for every trade. The question's not one of feasibility, but of will. It is time for an audit of what the school board is doing It's time to reverse this public decline, to reclaim the resources around us, and build a school system that can serve as a shining light for the generations. Thank you.